Morning to you. How are you this morning?
Morning, Mark. I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. You hear me on here getting schooled about Santa Claus. And
Yeah, I heard.
let me ask you then. When you heard the song as a kid, I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus. Did you think Santa Claus she was really kissing Santa Claus or she was kissing the daddy?
I thought she was kissing the dad. I thought it was the dad dressed up as Santa Claus. Maybe they had a thing going. I don't know, but I definitely thought it was the dad, and the
Did,
kid
did,
just
did,
was confused.
did you ever believe in Santa Claus?
No.
Okay. So I guess
My parents tried, but
that
no, there
well,
was
see
no
that's
way.
probably part of my pathology because I thought there might actually be a dude named Santa Claus. So and I thought he was black. I thought he was Santa Claus, and I thought he was a black Santa Claus at that. So that's
Well, I will always say that. Well, my parents for Santa Claus was always black in my household, but that's a separate thing.
indeed, indeed. So down to business. So tell us about what the city of Baltimore is doing in terms of the Trump
Yeah.
administration and immigration.
So last month, we joined with the city of Baltimore to file suit against the administration for essentially executing an unlawful and just blatantly anti-immigrant policy behind closed doors. And the policy that we're talking about is the change to a public charge definition. And this is a change that happened at the State Department. A lot of conversation has been going on about the proposed change at the Department of Homeland Security, but what's little known is that for almost a year now, a similar change has been occurring at a different agency. It happened, like I said, behind closed doors. It began being executed in January 2018 with no notice to the public, no opportunity for the public to provide any comment, even though it impacts a large swath of America's immigrant population as well as U.S. citizens who have family members who are immigrants themselves. And so what we're talking about is the public charge definition. So it's essentially a provision in immigration law that limits who can come into the United States. Essentially if one is deemed likely to be a public charge, likely to depend extensively on, social services and the like, then that can now be considered against you or against your application for permanent status or at least permanent visa into the United States, which is a drastic change. For decades, that has not been the case. But the Trump administration came in. Their hostility towards immigrants has infected many areas of policy, and this is just one of them.
So where is the lawsuit now?
So the suit is still making its way through the court. Like it was filed last month, so the government does have some time to respond. But we are very active and vigilant trying to get this information out to the public, so that they are aware, but also to hopefully calm some fears. Because I must say that there are a lot of individuals in the immigrant community. Both advocates and immigrants themselves who rightfully are concerned about this expanded definition and this expanded change and how it impacts the way in which they accept or receive benefits that they are eligible for. And we're talking about non-cash benefits. We're talking about Head Start. We're talking about vaccinations. We're talking about being able to access free school lunches, emergency, disaster relief assistance. And we're talking about non-cash benefits that are there to supplement and to assist those who at sometimes, are at hard times and just need a little bit to kind of move them out of a particular space. So it's really essential that while the case is moving forward, that the public is very much aware about what the administration has attempted to do and has done outside public view.
So this impacts people um, who are immigrants, but yet here legally, correct?
So this impacts a large swath of individuals. So it impacts individuals who have visas. who are
Mm-hmm.
here, legally on their visas, who may, in some instances, have to leave the country to come back in order to obtain, permanent visa status, for example. It also impacts their citizen family members. If you are looking to sponsor a family member to come into the United States, if you, a legal U.S. citizen, has accessed or used some non-cash public benefits, that may also be a knock against the family member that you're trying to sponsor to come in. And yes, it also does impact individuals who are here undocumented, but yet still have the ability under existing law to accept public benefits of this sort.
And so, but the bottom line is, there are people, um, whatever their status, that benefit from uh, uh, benefits, so to speak, that are non-cash and who need those benefits, correct?
Oh, absolutely. For example, when there was a major flood, terrible flood in Baltimore in May 2018, they had emergency disaster relief. Those are examples of non-cash benefits that are needed in times of hardship that many immigrants and, again, their U.S. citizen family members will now be more hesitant to accept, even though it's available for them and that they're actually eligible for that under the law. Vaccinations, health clinics for young children. When the administration put out their proposed rule, because again, they're two separate things that are happening here. The one that we're challenging is the one at the State Department that happened completely without any notice to public and has been going on for almost a year. There has similarly been a proposed change with the Department of Homeland Security that had gone through the proper notice and comment. The comment period has since ended, but when the administration put out the notice for that, they themselves acknowledged that the change in definition could lead to higher contagious diseases, for example, because individuals may be hesitant from accessing the vaccinations that they would otherwise use, or and that they do need. So it's very clear how this would impact the immigrant community. For Baltimore, for example, they themselves have seen immediate impact from these changes. Their Head Start program, for example, has now, since this has been implemented, seen virtually no African immigrants at this point that have signed up for Head Start. So this is affecting, young children and their ability to have, a head start, if you will, to early education. So
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
this is an immediate impact that's happening across the spectrum.
And obviously, you all, Democracy Forward with us, folks, in the person of Charisma Troiano, 26 minutes past the hour. Obviously, you all have joined with Baltimore, but this is not just exclusive to Baltimore. This is happening all over.
Oh, this is happening all over. We've heard reports from our immigrant partners that, consulates such as at Ciudad Juarez are starting to turn away individuals as a result of this expanded public charge definition. We're waiting for the State Department to actually put out the accurate data on how many denials have taken place in 2018, and being able to then trace that back to this change in policy that started at the State Department since January. The administration hasn't yet put out this information. We ultimately ended up filing a FOIA suit to be able to have access to that information. We'll wait and see when the administration actually decides to put out this data. But yeah, we are seeing it actually impact visa denials. We're seeing it impact the way in which immigrants in this country are viewing and using or not using benefits that they are otherwise eligible for under the law, and we're seeing how it harms cities like Baltimore. If a particular individual or group of individuals would be able to access federal non-cash benefits but are not, that obviously strains the city's budget. So it's happening in Baltimore. It's happening in states across this country. Baltimore has been one of the first to stand up to actually file suit against the administration. I would imagine that other cities would follow suit. I know that New York State Governor Cuomo, when the DHS, the Homeland Security rule, was proposed, had noted that there would be an intent to sue. I'm not sure where that has gone yet, but I do know that cities are talking, and Baltimore has been the first to actually stand up and do something.
So, is this also a disincentive charisma for people who are eligible for certain benefits? Let's say families who are eligible to Head Start. Are they disincentivized from even applying or seeking Head Start because of this ruling?
I would think so. I mean, just using the Baltimore example to kind of like shine a light on that a little bit. But yeah, if you know, or if you have an inclination that one day in the very near future, you and your family are here, documented and here legally, that you may want to sponsor a family member. You may think twice about that. You may think twice about whether or not I'm going to now enroll, my young child in a Head Start program. You may think twice about whether or not I'm going to send my young child to a clinic to get vaccinations, because by doing that, that may hinder my ability to sponsor another family member to come over to the United States on a visa. And so these are definitely calculations that the immigrant community are making every single day, and it's also these calculations that impact their health and their ultimate safety.
The Trump administration has truly been egregious when it comes to immigrants, hasn't it, Charisma?
Hmm. No, absolutely. And that's one key component to our lawsuit. So in addition to challenging the administration for doing this completely behind closed doors without providing the public with any notice or any opportunity to weigh in on this impact, it's the administration's very clear hostility towards immigrants. I mean, from the very moment that now President Trump, then candidate Trump, came down those gold-plated escalators, he made very clear his hostility towards immigrants. He's derided countries, and I guess if the president cursed, I can say it myself as well, but as shithole countries. This hostility basically breeds an animus towards immigrants, and that's what motivated this change in immigration policy. You can't have a discriminatory animus motivate the way in which policy decisions are made in this country. It's against the Constitution's equal protection clause, and that's one of the challenges that we bring in this lawsuit, that not only was this done behind closed doors and in secret, but it was also unconstitutional because of this administration's very public, very clear hostility towards immigrants. I mean, this is an anti-immigration policy.
And of course, this is the type of decision that should have been made transparently in the sunshine and with an opportunity, I believe, for a public comment period, right?
Absolutely. It absolutely should have been. And, the administration has done so in another context. So no one can say, oh, we didn't know or we were unaware. You were aware because you've done it with the Department of Homeland Security. Why did you not do it with the State Department? Why is this in effect for almost a year now? And for all intents and purposes, the public now knows about it. But when you did it, when you first started it, they did not. So you had individuals who may have gotten, denied a visa and not being fully aware that, it was because your family sponsor accepted non-cash benefits or you had accepted non-cash benefits in the past. So, yes, this should have been done in a way that allowed the public to comment, the way in which the public commented when the Department of Homeland Security issued their rule. That comment period ended, I believe, a couple of days ago on December 10th. But, one can like or not like the policy direction that this administration is taking, but at the very bare minimum, the public has the right to weigh in on the policy decisions that any administration makes.
Democracy Forward has acknowledged that even, and I'm reading from a tweet posted on November 28th by Democracy Forward, Charisma Troiano with his folks of Democracy Forward. Even the Trump administration itself has acknowledged that families and cities will be hurt by these changes, facing higher rates of communicable diseases, malnourished infants, and increased rates of poverty and homelessness. The Trump administration itself has acknowledged that, Charisma?
Yeah, no, that is absolutely the case. They acknowledged it when they issued the proposed rule at the Department of Homeland Security. The exact same change of public charge definition, the expansion of definition. They acknowledge that themselves. So they are aware of what this will do to the immigrant population in this country. They're absolutely 100% aware of that, but yet they feel the need to put it forth anyway.
And of course, folks, as we just talked about, communicable diseases, malnourished infants, increased rates of poverty and homelessness, people are here. And if they aren't treated the way the rest of us are treated, it still puts the rest of us in peril. And it ultimately is going to cost us more in the long run. Correct, Charisma?
That is absolutely right. We do not live in our individual bubbles. We do connect and communicate with individuals around us in our everyday spaces. But yeah, if individuals, whether they are immigrants, non-immigrants, it honestly doesn't matter, but aren't getting the health care that they need, aren't able to access clinics when they're sick, aren't able to get vaccinations that they need, aren't able to access CHIP, for example, to be able to feed their children, that affects us all. Just as simple as being on the subway. You think about it in that context, as how crammed the subway car is, germs and viruses do not discriminate on immigration status. So, yes, it affects us all.
Let me just correct you. Everybody doesn't live in individual bubbles except me, because obviously I'm the only one in the world who didn't know that I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus referred to the father. So I'm in a bubble.
Well, that's a special situation.
That's a special situation. And I hate to stereotype you as a woman, but it's usually women, y'all, who point out all the germs on the subway. I've never heard a dude talk about germs on the subway. I'm just be honest with you. Us dudes, we just get on the subway and keep it moving. But every woman I know, especially every black woman, will have a conversation with you about the germs on the subway. That's real,
man.
And that's helpful information. Well, Charisma, thank you for sharing. But let me ask one more question. You mentioned African immigrants have pretty much ceased applying for Head Start in Baltimore. Why African immigrants in particular, do you think?
I couldn't really say, why one origin of immigrants has completely dropped off of program over others, but it is one data point that we are able to point to. I'm sure that there are others, but as you can imagine, immigrants in this claim, which this administration approaches immigrants in this country, but we do know that at one data point, being that African immigrants in Baltimore have dropped off. I wouldn't be surprised if there are others, but like I said, this administration has bred fear in immigrants in many ways, especially when it comes to reporting the way in which they now operate.
All right. Charisma Troiano. Charisma, you ready for the holidays?
I am ready for the holidays. I'll be down in Georgia, spending my time with my family down there.
Oh, wonderful.
Coming back up to New York for New Year's. But yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Well, you all have a wonderful holiday season, okay?
Same to you. I'll see if Santa's kissing Mommy. We'll see.
Something that, Charisma's cool. I love her and the work she does, but now we have there's something, a special moment that she will always have to remember. The day I learned that the song I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus was not really about Santa Claus. So I guess I grew up today. Charisma got to witness me grow up.
Congratulations.
Love to the family, Charisma, okay?
Same to yours. Thanks, Mark.
All right, take care now. Democracy forward, folks. Be sure to follow this story. We're streaming. We'll take a break from streaming, come back with our next guest. Speaking of immigration, the Indigenous Peoples March is coming up. All right. Everybody else is an immigrant, not the indigenous people. That's what the word indigenous means, by the way. I know what that means. We're streaming on YouTube and Twitter only today because at the request of the NAACP, at the call of the NAACP, we're logging off of Facebook and Instagram because of their bad business practices. They're allowing Russia to target African Americans, and they're targeting African American organizations like Color of Change for standing up to them. So we'll do that. We'll be back. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Indigenous Peoples March coming up in January. This is MIP.